The F-35 Lightning is a fighter jet designed and produced by the United States of America. Also known as the Joint Strike Fighter, development costs are at least $40 billion. The F-35 is one of the two most advanced fighter jets in the world today, if not the most advanced. However, it has seen very little to no combat duty. But in tests and training, nothing comes close, therefore, it is highly in demand. 800 have been produced for the USA, partner countries, and close allies. 2,400 are planned to be produced at an additional cost of $200 billion. Everyone wants the F-35, but not everyone will get it. There are the usual suspects who will never get it, which are Russia, Iran, Zimbabwe, China, Pakistan, Somalia, North Korea, to name but a few. Then there are those who can get it or tried to get it but will never get it for one reason or another. Taiwan desperately needs the F-35 to defend itself against a mainland invasion. China has vowed to unify the two at all costs. Every now and again, Taiwan reiterates its interest in the F-35 in light of an anticipated round of arms procurement from the United States. The F-35 BSTOVL variant is reportedly the political favorite, as it would allow the Republic of China Air Force, which is the Taiwanese Air Force, to continue operations after its limited number of runways have been bombed in an escalation with China. However, the US is against supplying Taiwan with the F-35 over worries of Chinese spies within the Taiwanese military, possibly compromising classified data concerning the aircraft and granting Chinese military officials access. What the US really fears is China taking over Taiwan after invading and gaining access to the F-35s and then reverse engineering them. Egypt is busy making a deal with America to buy F-15 Strike Eagles because they know they will never get F-35s. They have been trying to get F-15s since the 70s. For your own information, America never sells Egypt air-to-air missiles that have a range longer than 80 kilometers. The reason is to protect Israel's qualitative edge. Egypt has tried to invade Israel a couple of times. France is one of the few countries on the planet that can design and mass-produce a fighter jet on its own, without outside assistance or suppliers. They proved this in 1981 when they pulled out of the British Aerospace EAP program, which resulted in the Eurofighter Typhoon because they were refused design leadership. And British engines were chosen over French engines. On its own, France came up with the Dassault Rafale, a 4.5 generation fighter jet. Currently, and as it has been since decades ago, the French Air Force operates indigenous fighter jets or jets they have had a hand in designing and producing. Today the Mirage 2000 and Dassault Rafale are the indigenous fighter jets operated by the French Air Force. Though the Dassault Rafale is a 4.5 fighter jet and not stealth like the F-35, Dassault Aviation in conjunction with Germans Airbus and Spain's Indra Sistemas are developing a 6th-generation fighter jet, currently known as Future Combat Air System. It is scheduled to enter service in 2040, so there is no need for F-35. Ukraine. Had Ukraine acquired F-35s before 2022, chances are Russia would have more damning knowledge about the fighter or one in its hands already. Just like Taiwan might be invaded by China, Ukraine is susceptible to more Russian invasions. It would be too risky for Ukraine to operate the F-35 as Russia can get its hands on them. With Ukraine not joining NATO soon, it is safe to assume that she will not get F-35s anytime soon. Saudi Arabia has reiterated many times that it wants the F-35. Washington is reluctant to sell, yet Saudi Arabia is an important ally. If wishes were horses, Saudi Arabia would invade and decimate Israel. Should Saudi Arabia get the F-35, it would undercut Israel's qualitative advantage, which it needs to maintain security. Israel's aerial superiority in the Middle East is central to the retention of its regional qualitative military edge. In light of the considerable build-up by the Arab states of advanced American, European, and Russian 4th-generation fighter jets over the last decade, the continued Israeli exclusivity of the F-35 in the region remains a vital interest. Its advantage in the air enables Israel to safeguard not only its own national security but also to maintain American regional interests. This comes at a time when Washington desires to cut its direct involvement in the Middle East. The reported Israeli airstrikes to counter the Iranian military buildup in Syria and Iraq are an obvious example of this. Therefore, Saudi Arabia will not be getting the F-35 Lightning. India has on several occasions indicated an interest in acquiring F-35s. In 2018, it was reported India wanted to order 126 F-35s. That same year the Indian government issued an RFI for the procurement of 114 fighter jets to replace aging MiG-21, Jaguars, and Mirage 2000s. Sweden offered the Gripen, France the Dassault Rafale, America the F-18 and F-15X, Russia the Su-35 and MiG-35, and Britain the Eurofighter Typhoon. Note: America offered the F-18 and F-15, not the F-35. This is because the fighter that was going to win was going to be partially built in India as part of the Make in India initiative, which is Indian legislation. America is not ready to do that. Also, another reason is that 2 years earlier India had ordered the S-400 missile air defense system from Russia, which America fears would be used to explore the F-35's capabilities. The acquisition of the S-400 has also cost the next country F-35s. In July 2002, Turkey became the 7th international partner in the F-35 project. On the 25th of January 2007, Turkey signed a Memorandum of Understanding for involvement in F-35 production. The Turkish Air Force planned to initially order 116 F-35s at a reported cost of $11 billion. In 2007, Turkish aerospace industries started work to supply center fuselage for the Northrop Grumman, the makers of the F-35. Things started getting sour in 2011 when the US refused and delayed shipments of F-16 parts to Turkey over bad relations with Israel, and Turkish officials became concerned that similar problems will make F-35 production and support of the 100 F-35s it has planned to buy non-viable. Rising costs did not help. The same year, like other partner nations, Turkey complained about the United States' refusal to share the software source code for the F-35. The software made it possible for the F-35 to be controlled remotely. The order for 100 F-35s was put on hold. In 2014, an order for 2 F-35s was made, taking delivery of 10 aircraft per year after they enter service in 2018, with 100 F-35s total on order. In January 2015, Turkey ordered a further 4 F-35s, for a total of 6. On the 30th of June 2018, Turkey received its first F-35 at Lockheed Martin facilities in Fort Worth, Texas. The first aircraft was based at Luke Air Force Base for pilot training. On the 18th of June 2018, the U.S. Senate passed a bill blocking the transfer of F-35 fighter jets to Turkey. The prohibition was established due to concerns over Turkey's intent to procure Russian S-400 air defense system, which would allegedly put the secrets of the F-35 at risk. The concern was the S-400 radars will be able to observe the F-35 in all its flight profiles, thus being able to identify weak spots in stealth capability. The dangers did not stop in the air. Turkey was to get 5 years of Russian technical support with its S-400 purchase, which was going to give Moscow ample opportunity to put intelligence agents next to those batteries and their operators. In August 2018, U.S. President Donald Trump signed the bill, which blocked the transfer of F-35 fighter jets to Turkey. On the 17th of July 2019, following the delivery of Russian S-400 air defense systems, the United States announced that Turkey would be removed from the F-35 program. Besides the ban on the training of pilots and delivery of the aircraft, the move also removed Turkey from the supply chain. Sweden is a highly industrialized country. The country produced its first military plane in 1941, the Saab 17. A dozen other military aircraft have been produced, including the Viggen, which helped force the SR-71 into retirement when it managed to get a lock-on. Today, Sweden is operating and selling the Gripen, a fighter jet that competes on the market with the F-35. It might not be stealthy, but it has been dubbed the world's best non-stealth fighter jet. Both aircraft have competed for contracts in India, Denmark, Finland, the Netherlands, Poland, Norway. In fact, everywhere the F-35 bids, the Gripen bids too, so Sweden will never endorse the F-35 by acquiring it. Also, Sweden and the UK are working on a sixth-generation fighter jet called Tempest, which is supposed to enter service in 2035, so there is no need for Sweden to buy the F-35. In 2010, the United Arab Emirates requested information about a possible sale of F-35s, however, the United States delayed responding for months. For 10 years the US were reluctant to sell the fighter to UAE. In October 2020, the White House announced that the US intends to sell 50 F-35s and other weapons for $23 billion to the UAE. Israel indicated it had no objections to a potential deal. The UAE signed the deal to acquire 50 F-35s on the 20th of January 2021. 11 months later, UAE scuppered the deal because the US wanted to provide less stealthy F-35s so as to protect Israel. The US was dragging its feet on the aircraft sale so that it could uphold the tradition of Israel having a 5-year jumpstart over other partners in the region and adhere to the Israeli demand to maintain qualitative military edge, a proposition that was highlighted by the Secretary of State in the Trump administration, Mike Pompeo. The UAE refused to boycott Huawei's 5G technologies at the request of America. US intelligence also discovered that Beijing was building what they thought to be a secret military facility at the Khalifa port in the UAE. Pressure from Washington halted the development. Therefore, the US will not sell the F-35s to UAE. The Royal New Zealand Air Force once had over 1,000 combat aircraft. In 2022 they only have 48. The reason being, in 2001 the government of New Zealand decided to disband the Royal New Zealand Air Force's Air Combat Force by withdrawing its A4K Skyhawk fighter aircraft and Omaki MB-339 trainers without replacement. The reason for this is that New Zealand is far from any threat and does not feel threatened by any country. Should a threat arise, they can rely on the US and Australia for fighter cover. The funds that were freed up were reallocated to other elements of the New Zealand Defence Force. Therefore, since 2001 New Zealand has not had fighter jets, fighter pilots, or fighter cover. And that will not change anytime soon. In 2020, Qatar made a formal request to buy F-35 fighter jets from the United States, following the announcement of the $23 billion deal between the United States and the UAE. The move suggests that Qatar did not want to be outgunned if Abu Dhabi obtained the fighter. However, there has not been much progress on Qatar's request. In October 2020, Eli Cohen, then Israel's intelligence minister, said that Israel would oppose any sale of the jet to Qatar, citing the need to maintain Israel's military superiority in the region. If Israel opposes the deal, it would be unlikely to receive U.S. congressional approval, given the amount of support that Israel enjoys in Washington. Other sticking points. The relationship between Qatar and Iran is a concern. Qatar has made it clear that it would not normalize relations with Israel until a two-state solution is reached. Qatar also remains committed to the Arab Peace Initiative, the Saudi-backed proposal from 2002 that would see full diplomatic ties with Israel established across the entire Muslim world in exchange for the establishment of a Palestinian state based on the 1967 borders. Qatar's support for Hamas, Palestinian Islamic militant organization. Qatar supports the Muslim Brotherhood, movement sought the re-establishment of a world Islamic caliphate. Jerusalem is also wary of how Qatar has become a close partner with Turkey and backed Ankara during the 2017 crisis with its Gulf neighbors. Qatar also hosts a large Turkish military base. It is unlikely that the United States would want Turkey, which was expelled from the F-35 program for its acquisition of the Russian-built S-400 missile defense system, anywhere near the F-35 jet. The last time Cyprus acquired a deadly weapon, Turkey invaded her and ordered her to get rid of it. The weapon was Russian-made S-300 air defense system. Greece, which has a defense accord with Cyprus, came to her defense by sending troops and a squadron of F-16s. The two NATO members almost went at it. Were it not for the pleas of the UN, the US, and the UK, there would have been a full-blown war. Now that it's certain Turkey is never getting F-35s, it's safe to assume Turkey will not allow Cyprus to get a deadly weapon once again. The United Kingdom and Argentina went to war in 1982 over the Falkland Islands, which both countries claim to own. The war was a 10-week contest that ended when then-Britain Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher managed to convince French President François Mitterrand to stop deliveries and provide intel on how to defeat the Exocet anti-ship missile, which exposed the weakness of the Royal Navy's anti-aircraft defences. Argentina had managed to sink HMS Sheffield and the SS Atlantic Conveyor using Exocet missiles launched from superintended bombers. Since then, relations between the two countries have been topsy